Should I try Deep Dungeon?
No, you must finish your MSQ.
I kind of want to try crafting.
No, that'll take too long. Do your MSQ.
What's Eureka?
Don't worry about it. You can try it after MSQ.
Can I just...
No! Grind your MSQ.
Variant?
MSQ.
Okay.
Okay. That's enough. That's enough of that. There's definitely more ways and options to approach this. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Okay.
So, what is the right way to progress through MSQ? And more importantly, how do you do that without getting burned out? And it's important to know that there isn't one correct way to do it, but we'll kind of get into the details of how that should look as we get through this video. There's all kinds of interpretations, recommendations, suggestions on how you should go through MSQ. But one of the most prevalent and common ones is what my Cactar friend mentioned a little bit ago. Grind it out till you get to the end. And the reason for that is because you want to be able to, if you as the player want to be able to play the most current content where everybody's at, right? Older content tends to not have nearly as many people doing it. And two, if you have friends who you've come to play with, they're doing endgame stuff and you want to join them. And that makes perfect sense. That's exactly why you would choose to rush through MSQ. Here's the challenge. There's a term I call MSQ Fatigue. And that's where, as you're going through main story quest and only main story quest, it's just a lot of content to consume in a chain, in a continuous sitting. Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO, but it's also an RPG. And all MMOs are MMORPGs. Yeah. But Final Fantasy is definitely RPG first, MMO second. You spend your time progressing and weaving in and out of doing things by yourself and doing things in a group. At any given time, you are watching cutscenes or doing those small minutia quests that we all have love to hate. And then a certain point comes in the story, you'll have a single player instance where you jump in and you do some cool thing against some boss and it's a one-on-one or a few NPCs on a few NPCs, whatever the case may be. You clear that, you watch more cutscenes, you get to a dungeon. There's the first time you are now weaving in that multiplayer aspect. You complete the dungeon, you probably do that in, let's say 20 minutes because the dungeon didn't go so well. Back into the solo. So you do the solo thing, watch more cutscenes, do a little more minutia quests. There's a trial. So you jump into the trial. Same thing, another 10, 15, 20 minutes goes by, back into the single player. And this is kind of the lather repeat until you get to the very end of the expansion where you will usually do a dungeon, followed by a trial or the reverse, and then a very long set of cutscenes that you must make sure you've set sufficient time aside for in order to watch. After that is when all of the optional content from that block of time comes up. So post A Realm Reborn, there's a bunch of bonus dungeons. There's also deep dungeoning. Post Stormblood, there's another Alliance raid, there's another deep dungeon, there is now field operations, which is a new kind of content to do at endgame. You get to the end of Endwalker, and now you have variant dungeons, which is yet another new way to play of optional content, and the list goes on. If you are starting MSQ and grinding it out without stopping to do any of this bonus stuff that floats up, you're probably going to find yourself burning out faster than most. Because let's be honest, right? Final Fantasy XIV story, while interesting, has a lot of slow time. The story arc of any given expansion is introducing the key players, a slow build up explaining the problems and showing some of the nuances and introducing other characters and using supporting stories that aren't going to matter in the grand scheme to really build up to whatever the big problem is or the big bad is. Finally, you start to hit that peak where things get interesting, but that's not until the 57, 67, 77 type quests. And then it stays interesting until the end, and then you get all the bonus content. And then you go into patch quests, which is also then closing out loose ends, leaving a couple of cliffhangers that may be breadcrumbs into the next thing, maybe a little mini arc in the middle that may or may not be important later, who knows? And then building up into the next expansion before starting the next expansion and doing it all over again. It's not the most sustainable thing to be able to do something like that. And I say that for myself, absolutely. Like, I'm so bad at doing things that are grindy, especially because I have ADHD. I will get bored. Cannot do it. I also have an obsession with side quests. I was taught by the person who got me into Final Fantasy XIV right at the beginning not to do every single yellow quest because I would have. And thank goodness, because yeah, I would never have caught up, ever. Never in my life. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a time to go and do them. And a lot of people will say, if you grind, get to the end game, then you can go back and do all of that old stuff. That's true. And to that same point that I just made, if you're the type of person who can just grind something out and not be tired of it, and that works for you, more power to you. I don't think that's why I don't think that's a wrong decision or a wrong answer, because if it works for you, do that. But I don't think that's a one size fits all for everybody. An interesting thing to think about as well is if you get all the way to the end game and then go back and do a lot of that old content, it's going to be a lot less interesting and engaging. And the reason for that is, one, it's no longer relevant to where you are in the story necessarily. And two, let's assume you finish Dawntrail. You will be at level 100 with a level 100 skill set. And so if you go back to do all of your optional Realm Reborn or Heaven's Ward dungeons, you are effectively cutting your kit that you've gotten used to in half. As somebody who's been playing for a long time, getting queued into older dungeons already feels bad for that reason. So actively choosing to go back and only do that content and losing half of my abilities in the current state of the game does not feel very good. Does not sound like it would be very fun either. That's just my opinion, of course, but I can't imagine you wanting to lose half of your kit to go back and do old content. Additionally, if you skip some of that side content, while it is optional, it does give some level of information about parts of the story that are relevant. A common thing that I've seen on Reddit is people going, what happened to this character? Why did they just suddenly disappear? And if you had done the Alliance Raid series in Stormblood, you'd know exactly where they went. You would know exactly why they disappeared. There is a reason. But if you skip that content, then when you get to something that comes up about it, you're like, what the hell? It is optional and you're not necessarily going to lose anything, but you'll have more context if you go and do that side content. So what's my recommendation here? What do I think you should do? What do I think is optimal or you could do in order to kind of maximize what you're getting out of it and not really hit that MSQ fatigue or burnout point? I have two answers to this question. I have three answers to this question. The first answer is, as you reach the end of an expansion or Realm Reborn, take the time to do that optional content then. Why? It is relevant to the content you're doing. And some of it, like truthfully, a Realm Reborn is a lot of optional dungeons, and they don't add a metric ton of content or extra context, but they're still fun. And from all the MSQ you've been doing, it's a great way to break up the minutia. And spoilers, Realm Reborn post patches are the longest stretch of content between expansions of any of them. So taking the time to do that before you dive into that, or just spreading it out amongst the patch quests is fine. Which leads to my second point. Anytime you feel like you're starting to reach that level of, I'm so tired of focusing on MSQ, I'm getting bored, these quests are boring, whatever the case may be, that's your moment to stop and be like, I'm gonna go do something on the side. I'm gonna go craft. I wanna go take up a gathering class. I wanna be a fisher. If you feel like you're hitting a burnout point where you want to stop playing, that means that you're approaching a point or at a point where you're not having fun anymore. But the game has so many other ways for you to engage with it that are not pushing MSQ that it is more than okay to stop and smell the flowers, so to speak. Yes, you want to get to the end game. Yes, you want to be able to play with your friends, and you'll get there. MSQ's not going anywhere. And sure, you want to get there as quickly as possible. But if you choose to try and get there as quickly as possible so you can play with your friends, and you get bored, and then you quit because the game was too boring for you, because you didn't engage any of that optional content, you went from trying to get there as fast as you can, or slowing down and doing some side stuff and still getting there, to I quit the game, so I'm never getting there at all because I was told to or felt like I had to grind, and I was bored of it. And it doesn't sound very conducive to getting to the end at all, right? Which leads me to the third point. These are all suggestions, right? There's no one size fits all for really anything. People will flame you for buying skips. I don't think there's anything wrong with buying skips if that's what you want to do. There's another discussion to be had around that and making sure that you have the skill level to jump into endgame content, but that's a different conversation entirely. We're focusing solely on using it to get to the endgame. People will say, Final Fantasy is a story-driven game, and that's what you should get into it for, and if you don't like that, this is the wrong game for you. That's not correct. Guys, please stop saying things like this. We don't want to drive people away from the game. We want the game to succeed, so just be more open-minded. It is a story-driven game, and the story is phenomenal. It has its high points, it has its low points, but it is a great story. But if that's not something you're into, then that's not something you're into. That doesn't mean it's not the game for you, because if you really like raiding or you really like doing roguelike dungeons, Final Fantasy has those, and you don't have to engage with the story to be able to do them. If you want to skip the story, you can. People will shame a cutscene skipper. I'm not a cutscene skipper, but I'm not going to shame somebody for doing it. Play the game the way you want to play. No, I don't pay your sub, right? Enjoy it. It's a game, and it's meant to be enjoyed by everybody in whatever capacity that is not infringing upon the way other people are enjoying the game. So who cares if you skip cutscenes? Who cares if you want to buy a skip? Again, as long as you're not infringing upon other people's gameplay, which falls into that other topic for a different conversation. It is okay to make those choices, and don't let a keyboard warrior on the internet tell you that it's not. If you want to skip the story, skip the story. If you want to watch every single cutscene, watch every single cutscene. If you want to do the MSQ from start to finish without touching any side content, do it. Live your life. If you're like me and you have that burnout issue, then take the time to enjoy each expansion contained within itself as you would have normally. Or take the time to go learn a crafter or a gatherer because you just need a break from reading blocks of text all day. Because again, I think the story is phenomenal, but it has its times where I'm like, man, I cannot do this right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make it a bad story. It's a game. It's just a medium it's told in. And so there's certain things that have to happen for that to make sense. To summarize, my opinion in the best way to approaching MSQ and avoiding burnout is to go through the main story until you get to the end of the expansion or the base game in the case of Realm Reborn, and take a moment to decide if you feel like you want to keep pressing on or if you feel like you're getting bored or slowing down. If you feel like you can keep going and you're having a great time, do it. Keep going, because that moment can come later. If you feel like you've got the drive, go for it. But don't force it. Don't force yourself to keep going, because that's what will drive burnout. And that goes for anything in life, right? So you can apply this advice to many other facets of your life. For the sake of MSQ, when you start feeling that point of losing interest, losing focus, that's when you say, I'm going to stop doing MSQ and I'm going to go enjoy all the other things this game has to offer. I'm going to go do optional dungeons. I'm going to go learn about field operations. I'm going to try a deep dungeon. I want to do a variant dungeon. There's so many things that you can do and you'll unlock over time. And those things will keep you excited and keep you going in those moments where things are slowing down. And then when you're ready, you can jump back into MSQ and keep chugging along. Get bored again, slow down, you can stop and switch back out. The game is not going anywhere as long as you don't go anywhere. So don't burn yourself out because you or somebody makes you feel like you have to do that. It's meant to be enjoyed. Enjoy it. That's what games are all about. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you enjoy the video, feel free to hit the subscribe button or give me a like, because it really helps me to grow the channel. And if you have any thoughts around anything that I've shared, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. I try my best to read all of them and reply to all of them as much as I'm able to. If you're looking for more ways to be involved with the AzureRogues, don't hesitate to reach out in any capacity. You can find me on Twitch 2 nights a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at around 7:38 p.m. PST. The Cobalt Borealis Discord is where the community gets together regardless of how you found us, and we talk about things from Final Fantasy to other various games and other fun topics. It's just a great place to be social and community, and we're happy to make new friends. If you want to be more involved with us in Final Fantasy, we have a free company on Crystal Coeurl, the AzureRogues, and Dynamis Rafflesia, also the AzureRogues. One is, Crystal Coeurl is a fully developed free company, and the Dynamis one is we're building and growing as a new division. And that one's also free to transfer to right now because it's a preferred plus world. So if you're interested, now's a good time. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.